He looked at her name tag, then at her worn, splitting shoes, and smirked. To Colton Reeves, the waitress standing before him wasn't a human being. She was background scenery in the theater of his own superiority. He believed that by ordering in an extinct dialect, he could embarrass her, diminish her, humiliate her right in front of his fiancée. He thought he was untouchable. He was wrong. He had no idea that the woman balancing his crystal glass was far more than a waitress, and the word she was about to speak would silence an entire dining room and crack the foundation of his empire. This is the story of how arrogance collapsed under the weight of its own poison. But before we begin, what time are you watching this video right now? Morning? Afternoon? Late at night? I really want to know. Drop it in the comments. The air inside the Langston Room, Harlem's most exclusive dining space, smelled of white truffle, aged cognac, and old money trying far too hard to matter. But to Naomi Carter, it mostly smelled like survival. She tugged at the collar of her too-tight black button-down, the one she'd bought a year ago, back when she still believed this job would only be temporary. She'd been on her feet for 12 straight hours. Her cheap flats, knockoffs from a discount shop in Washington Heights, were splitting. Each step felt like walking on broken glass. "Carter, move with purpose," Daryl, the floor manager, called out sharply. Naomi forced a polite, "Yes, Daryl," and lifted a tray of champagne flutes, ignoring the burning ache across her lower spine. Table 4 needed their Dover sole filleted tableside. Table 9 complained their risotto was too creamy. Table 11 had changed their mind about the jazz volume for the third time. To the elite patrons of the Langston Room, Naomi wasn't a woman with a life or a mind. She was a fixture, a moving piece of furniture that should smile, serve, and stay silent. They didn't know the small scar near her hairline came from fainting in the prep area 2 months ago. They didn't know she used to be a linguistics doctoral candidate at Columbia, working on a groundbreaking dissertation about language and cultural erasure. They didn't know she had once been awarded the prestigious Hartman Fellowship. They didn't know any of it. What they also didn't know was that 2 years ago, Naomi's mother survived a devastating stroke, leaving Naomi drowning in medical bills so large they swallowed her entire future. The fellowship, the dissertation, the dream career, all of it vanished the moment her mother's life was on the line. And so, Naomi traded archives for aprons, academic journals for laminated menus, and lectures for long double shifts where kindness and cruelty often cost the same. Tonight, Naomi approached table 7 with the trained smile she'd learned to wear like armor, warm enough to be polite, distant enough to protect herself. The couple seated there looked like wealth had sculpted them from polished marble. The woman wore a lilac dress that shimmered softly. The man, Colton Reeves, sat like a king observing peasants, entitled, comfortable, untouchable. Naomi set down the menus. Colton glanced at her name tag, then her shoes, then back at her face with the expression of someone examining a scratch on a luxury watch. "Good evening," Naomi said gently. "Welcome to the Langston." But Colton cut her off. He ordered his drink in Old Occitan, a dead dialect Naomi had spent years studying. She instantly understood what he'd done. He was performing. He wanted her to stumble, to freeze, to look stupid. The bartender paused mid-pour. The chef stiffened in the kitchen doorway. Nearby tables quieted. Everyone waited. Colton leaned back, savoring the moment. He expected her face to fall. He expected her to apologize. He expected her embarrassment to entertain him. But something inside Naomi, something brilliant and buried, rose to the surface. The scholar, the linguist, the daughter her mother believed in, the woman who used to dream. Naomi met Colton's gaze without blinking, and in flawless Old Occitan, she replied, "Your question isn't about the drink, sir. It's a provocation." The entire dining room froze. Colton's smirk faltered. Naomi continued, now in elegant Parisian academic French, gliding through vowels and consonants with the precision of a seasoned professor. "Our Armagnac comes from Gascony, delivered last week, but your grammar is incorrect. The term you used, vocable, is not correct for this context. The proper term is mots, indicating linguistic nuance." A soft gasp rippled through the room. The head chef grinned proudly. Colton's face darkened. Naomi folded her hands calmly. "The language you attempted to weaponize is not a toy. I studied it for years. And you?" Colton's jaw clenched. He said nothing. Naomi stepped back with poise. "Would you like a moment, sir? Or shall I order for you in whichever language is easiest?" Whispers spread like wildfire. For the first time tonight, Naomi wasn't invisible. Service continued, but the air felt electric. Colton barely touched his food. His fiancée avoided his eyes. Naomi kept working, moving table to table with steady hands that trembled only when she was out of sight. But she knew men like Colton. Arrogance never accepts defeat. It retaliates. When Naomi brought the leather check presenter, Colton snatched it so aggressively the table shook. He signed the receipt and reached into his pocket with a huff. Then his expression shifted. "My card," he snapped. "Where is it?" Naomi blinked. "Sir, you just placed it." "It's gone," he shouted. "Someone stole my card." Heads turned. Forks froze midair. Colton pointed at Naomi like an executioner. She was the last one holding it. Check her apron, check her pockets, and call the police. Naomi's heart dropped. A cold wave washed over her. She saw her mother's face, her dwindling savings, everything on the verge of being destroyed by one lie. Daryl approached, shaking. "Sir, please, let's just—" "Do it," he hissed, "unless you want to lose your job, too." Naomi felt the world tilting beneath her feet. She tried to speak, but her voice came out small. "Sir, I didn't." Then a calm, authoritative voice cut through the chaos like thunder. "That won't be necessary." An older black man stood from table 4, his presence instantly commanding. Dr. Langston Hale, the founder of Hale Development Group and the namesake of the restaurant they stood in, approached with unhurried confidence. Colton's bravado wavered. "Mr. Reeves," Hale said evenly, "are you accusing my employee of theft? She took my card." Hale's voice didn't rise, but it sharpened. "Did you check your pockets?" "I already—" "Check again," Hale ordered, in a tone that left no room for disobedience. Colton patted his jacket, his face drained of color, and he slowly pulled out the platinum card. A collective exhale swept through the room. Hale tilted his head. "How convenient. Almost as convenient as falsely accusing a woman after she embarrassed you intellectually." Colton's fiancée quietly slipped her engagement ring off and placed it on the table. "I'll call my own car," she whispered, then walked out. Colton stared helplessly. "You will apologize to Ms. Carter," Hale said calmly, "and then you will leave my establishment. Do not return." Colton stared at Naomi with pure humiliation burning in his eyes. "I'm sorry," he forced out. "Now leave," Hale said. Colton walked out stiffly, shoulders tight, career already beginning to crack. Hale turned to Naomi. "Ms. Carter, my office. We need to talk." Inside his private office overlooking Harlem, Naomi stood trembling as Hale closed the door gently. "2 years ago, I attended a symposium at Columbia. You presented a paper on linguistic erasure. You were brilliant." Naomi stared. "You were there?" "I reached out later, intending to offer you a full research grant, but your email had been deactivated. You vanished." "My mother had a stroke," Naomi whispered. "I withdrew. Everything fell apart." Hale nodded, compassion warming his tone. "Tonight, when I heard you speak, I recognized you instantly." He leaned forward. "I'm opening the Hale Institute for Cultural Memory, and I want you to be the director." Naomi's breath caught. "The salary is $180,000 a year, full benefits, and your mother will receive full-time care at the Hale Medical Center. Private suite, full rehabilitation, whatever she needs." Naomi's eyes blurred with tears. "Why me?" "Because brilliance should never be buried under survival," said Hale gently. "And because your voice deserves a platform, not a tray." Naomi covered her face with trembling hands. "You start Monday." 6 months later, sunlight filled her mother's private rehab suite at Hale Medical. Her mother, speaking clearly, smiling brightly, sat in a comfortable recliner overlooking Central Park. "Baby," she said softly, "look at you, director of an institute." Naomi knelt beside her, tears warming her eyes. Her phone buzzed. "Conference confirmed. 150 attendees. You're the keynote." Naomi looked out at Harlem, alive with sound and history and voices. She thought of the woman she had been, a ghost in an apron, exhausted and invisible. She thought of Colton Reeves, whose investment firm collapsed months after his public humiliation. She thought of the night she decided to speak, and she whispered to herself, "I won't disappear again." Her mother squeezed her hand. "You were never meant to." Naomi smiled. She was here now, seen, heard, powerful, and she would never be invisible again. If this story inspired you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Don't wait, because I drop powerful stories like this all the time, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. And before you go, tell me 2 things in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what time of day do you usually tune in? I read every single one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And as always, stay strong, stay seen, and stay connected. Until the next story.